The iron is still hot from the flames. Amara is 23. She feels the brand burning into the skin above her left breast. She smells her own flesh scorching as the letters RAC sear permanently into her body. Through the roar in her ears, she hears the cries of the other women lined up behind her, women from her village, women she has known since childhood, women who were free just 6 days ago, and will bear these scars until death, until the raiders arrived. She was a wife and mother in the Kingdom of Dahomey. She wove and traded cloth across 3 regions, had borne 2 children and carried a third, walked her village with the assurance of someone whose place was certain. Now she stands on an unfamiliar beach. Her wrists are tied with rope that bites deeper with every shift. Her body bears the mark of the Royal African Company. Her children were ripped from her arms 2 days earlier, marched away toward an unknown destiny. The brand signifies purchase. RAC means she belongs to British traders. In the harbor lies the ship, a wooden fortress rising from the sea like a prison adrift. It signals she will soon leave everything familiar behind. A white man moves along the row of branded women, inspecting them as her husband once inspected goats at market. He pauses before her. His gaze travels her body deliberately, appraising, computing. He speaks to the African man beside him, a translator profiting from this trade in lives. "This one," the white man says. The translator conveys it in her tongue. "Healthy, strong. She'll endure the voyage." The translator adds, "She is pregnant." The man shrugs. "It doesn't matter. The child, if it lives, becomes property too." He continues to the next woman. "Get them all aboard before sunset." The captain sails with the morning tide. Guards who do not speak her language drag her forward, toward small boats, toward the vast water whose crossing tales sound impossible. Everyone near the coast has heard them. Ships carrying people across an ocean that devours weeks, to places where white men work Africans to death. Ships where horrors occur that survivors rarely name directly, marks deeper than any brand. She will soon discover what those stories omitted. What British slave traders inflicted on African women each night at sea. What follows has been downplayed by historians who focused on economics and death tolls. We know the Middle Passage, the ships, the squalor, the mortality that made the Atlantic one of history's deadliest voyages. Millions chained, hundreds of thousands perished en route, survivors bore lifelong wounds. But the specific fate of women is rarely confronted. Ships carried both men and women, men usually outnumbering them 2 to 1 or more. Men remained below, shackled in suffocating holds, crammed so tightly they could scarcely shift, breeding illness and despair. Women were held separately, on deck or in crew-accessible spaces, where sailors could reach them. Tonight you will learn what that access truly meant, the nightly rituals on British slave ships. Rituals captains noted in logs with coded phrases. Rituals sailors spoke of freely among themselves. Rituals that made the Middle Passage a deeper nightmare than chains, disease, or death alone. You will learn about Amara, 23 when branded on that beach, loaded onto the Henrietta Marie, pregnant with a child she would never raise, who over 7 weeks at sea discovered the full reality of British slavers' treatment of African women. Subscribe if you seek the unvarnished horror of the Middle Passage. Comment where you watch from, because Amara is boarding, and I will reveal what happened once the anchor lifted, what history books soften, economic studies overlook, what Britain has never fully faced about the trade that fueled its empire. First, a warning. This is not comfortable history. It is not remote. It is not abstract numbers. It happened to real women, named, with families, futures stolen. Women who endured what I describe and, if they lived, carried it forever. I will tell the truth about the Middle Passage, about women like Amara, about why this matters, because they deserve their stories told plainly, even when painful. Let us begin. The boats ferried 47 women to the ship. Amara counted them as they boarded, a reflex from years tracking traded cloth. Ages roughly 18 to 40, seized from villages across the region in what Europeans termed the trade. Some she knew, Chi Amaka, her neighbor whose laugh carried 3 houses, renowned for palm wine. Ada, daughter of the chief's second wife, betrothed to a warrior elsewhere. Neka, older widow of 2 husbands, bearing the resolve to outlast whatever followed. Others were strangers from different villages, kingdoms, tongues. They shared only capture, the brand, the dread ahead. The ship loomed larger. Amara read its name, Henrietta Marie, and the British flag atop the mast. Sailors bustled on deck, readying for human cargo. A stench drifted over, the accumulated reek of confined bodies. Boats arrived. Ropes descended. Women were hoisted aboard one by one, dumped near the main mast, like grain sacks. Amara scanned the deck, longer than expected, perhaps 60 feet, cluttered with unfamiliar gear. Hatches led below, emitting sounds that would haunt her, clanking chains, groans of men crammed in darkness, stifled cries. Hundreds below, over 300 chained in holds never meant for so many, unable to turn, breathing poison air that killed some outright. But women stayed topside. A tattooed sailor approached, face neutral, neither cruel nor kind. He told the translator, "Captain wants inspection before sailing. Line him up." Women were arranged along the deck. Resistance met blows until compliance. They stood, 47 from varied places, bound by captivity and fear. A door opened. A man emerged, authoritative, about 50, dressed distinctly. Captain James Morrison, of the Henrietta Marie. He walked the line slowly, merchant-like, assessing stock. He touched arms, shoulders, checked teeth, felt backs. At Amara he lingered. "This one carries a child." "Yes, Captain," the translator said. The factor noted it but deemed her fit. "How far?" 4 or 5 months, by appearance. Morrison pondered. "She may birth en route. That complicates things." His hands roamed her in ways that chilled her. "But strong, good tone, clear eyes. She'll likely survive." He finished the 47. To the translator, "Tell them, fed twice daily. Deck exercise when weather permits. No escape, self-harm, or interference. They will cooperate with whatever is required." Cooperators treated reasonably. Resistors learn why resistance fails. That translator spoke. Some wept. Some stared blankly. Some, like Neka, listened calculating survival. Morrison added, "Women divided. Some sleep on deck, in prepared area. Others," he indicated several, the youngest and most attractive, assigned to crew quarters. First mate explains duties. Those selected were led away. Amara saw sailors' eager looks, older women's silent exchanges. She began grasping what whatever is required meant. To understand Amara's world, know how British slave ships functioned. The Middle Passage lasted 6 to 12 weeks. The vessel was a sealed domain under captain and crew, beyond normal law. Primary cargo, Africans, loaded densely for high death rates. A typical ship like Henrietta Marie held 300 to 400 in spaces for far fewer. Men below, chained in rows, barely room to lie flat. Women kept on deck. Official reason, fresh air and movement raised survival and sale prices. Unofficial reason, crew access. Sailors, often the dregs of maritime labor, pressed or morally worn by the trade, spent weeks isolated, unchecked, amid powerless captives. Captains knew and often allowed it. Some joined. Some used it to pacify crews. Some ignored it. Some regulated it, assigning women, reserving others for themselves. Logs euphemized, made available, customary liberties, usual practice. The industry knew, profited, rarely curbed it. Every night, sailors visited the women's areas for those liberties. Every night for weeks or months, the passage added violation beyond chains, sickness, death. This was Amara's reality on the Henrietta Marie. The first night, she learned the system. Women split as ordered. About 30, including Amara, slept near the bow under partial canvas, ankle chained to deck rings, chains allowing movement but not flight. Thin blankets barely warded off chill. The selected few vanished to crew quarters. Darkness fell. Day crew ended shifts. Night watch began. Lanterns glowed. Sailors drifted toward the women, casual, entitled. Some with rum, some empty-handed. All eyed the chained women with familiar hunger. A young red-haired sailor, freckled and almost boyish, walked the line by lantern light. Stopped at a stranger to Amara. "You, come." The woman knew no English, but understood the pull, the expectation. She resisted. He struck her, once, twice, felling her. Unchained her, dragged her to shadow. Amara and others heard. Struggle, impacts, unmistakable sounds. 30 minutes later, he returned her, limp, eyes vacant, spirit absent. He chose another. More sailors followed. The night became endless selections, takings, returns, darkness filled with cries. Amara escaped that night. Perhaps her pregnancy deterred, perhaps luck. She witnessed all. She understood the machinery. Her reprieve would end. The first taken woman, Afua, Amara later learned, spoke nothing for 3 days. Ate mechanically, moved when forced, but stared through everything. She had retreated inward, beyond reach, a response Amara knew from village women shattered by trauma. Some returned, some never. On the 4th day, Afua asked, "How do we survive this?" Amara answered, "One night at a time, 1 hour, whatever keeps us to sunrise." They returned tonight. Afua hardened. "Then I must learn to endure, how to make it survivable. Not despair, but strategy." Amara led her to Neka, who had claimed a spot by the water barrel, and held it with presence. Neka assessed them. "You want survival knowledge?" "Yes. I cannot teach enduring the act, that's yours inside. But I can teach managing it, minimizing harm, building protections in the impossible." Neka shared hard-won wisdom from other women, routines observed, bitter experience. She described sailors, most dangerous ones, routine followers, manageable via compliance, dangerous when resistance excited them. One-timers versus repeaters. Timing. Most came early evening, post-meal, pre-heavy drink. Late night, drunken disinterest, offered escape. Feign illness, position near likelier choices, any tactic to skip a night. Aftermath. Saltwater cleaning, generational remedies for injuries, preserving health for landing. Mind. Body violation cannot stop. Mind you control. Detach, go elsewhere. Preserve an untouchable self. Methods varied, prayer, memories of home, counting breaths or stars. The point, distance from the moment. Women who found it survived. Those who couldn't broke, starved, leapt overboard. Amara took it in. No comfort existed, but strategy did. Preparation. Thank you, save thanks for land. For survival. Neka softened. We are all we have. Men below fight their chains. Sailors see us as things. But we aid each other. Share knowledge. Make survival likelier. You've done this before, Afua said. You know too much. Neka paused, voice heavy. 15 years ago raided. Held 3 months. Family ransomed me. Those months taught lessons I never wished. I hoped never to use them. I was wrong. Now I share. Knowledge is our only weapon. Days formed a grim routine Amara mastered. Mornings. Bean palm oil paste in shared bowls, barely sustaining, but essential. Refusal meant death. After, supervised deck walking, stretching cramped limbs. Sailors watched, reminding vulnerability, but movement aided sail value. Midday meal, then long afternoon sun. Women sought shade. Sailors worked rigging, less threat then. But as sun dropped, tension rose. Crew dined. Atmosphere shifted toward night.